Hey, welcome to the Fantasy Flow podcast. We're your hosts, Austin and Andy, and we just witnessed the AFC and NFC championship games. And now we know who's going to be competing in this year's Super Bowl. It's a rematch. Yay! Chiefs and Eagles. Everyone's two favorite teams, two favorite fan bases going at it to compete for the Lombardi. Andy, how are you doing? How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. Feeling a lot better now due to the illness, and happy to be home. Happy to be feeling better. Went into the office today. Like it's just
Oh,
getting back
good.
into the grind of things. Like it's really underrated how a routine changes
Hmm.
your outlook on life as a whole. You know.
Yeah, that's good. I'm happy for you, man. My weekend was pretty great, honestly. I got a bunch of stuff done on Saturday, and I just had Sunday to just go to the casino, make some bets, and then just slowly watch them all lose. It was
Right.
great. Um, yeah, no, I had a lot of parlays that included the Bills money line, and they didn't pull it out. I was very confident that they would. It was a very close game. We'll get to that, but man, this is a very relaxing time for some reason. I just feel really good. I feel good about a lot of different areas. Um, Particularly when it comes to football, though, because we have 2 whole weeks before the Super Bowl. I feel like we can save all the Super Bowl matchup analysis and games picks for next week. And this week we can just kind of talk about whatever we want. Um,
Yep.
I think we definitely need to break down these conference championship games. And then after that, I think we're going to talk about all the new head coaching hires made around the league. And then for you Seahawks fans that are listening, we're going to do kind of a deep dive into Klint Kubiak and the decision by the Seattle Seahawks to hire him as their new offensive coordinator. So, um, super breezy, chill week for us. In fact, I'm gonna dismount here. I'm just gonna like lean back and
Ooh. Ooh.
I'm just gonna hold
Kick your
my
feet.
hold my mic, kick my feet up. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is we're getting cozy here. No, it's
Sure.
gonna be a fun time. And speaking of fun, let's start off with the Eagles Commanders, and let's talk about it. Saquon Barkley, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts. Um, what a game! That was just a ton of fun. Maybe if you bet your life savings on the Commanders, it wasn't fun, but like pretty much any other scenario, like you are loving this game. It had just about everything. It was very close for like I don't know, the first half, first 3 quarters ish.
Mm,
It felt like the Commanders were in it for the first 3 quarters, and Jaden Daniels was doing just enough to kind of make you think, oh man, it's not over. And then what did the Eagles win by 30? At the end of the
yeah.
game.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was 23-34, 5 minutes left in the third quarter. I mean, it's 11-point game,
Yeah,
like you say.
23,
Yeah,
34.
yeah. It's like it's not over, but then the Commanders just fall apart in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, man. This was an all-around, just fantastic performance from the Eagles team in all 3 phases, right? Their offense absolutely killed it. Their defense absolutely killed it, forcing all those turnovers, holding the dynamic Commanders offense. And then the special teams. I mean, there were some nice returns, and then they also forced a fumble and recovered a fumble that was basically like the equivalent of an onside kick. You
Right.
just you kick off, you score, you kick off the ball, and then your offense goes right back out onto the field. That's a massive swing in the game. It's 3 phases. The Eagles won all 3 phases, and man, Andy, what were your initial reactions to the game, and specifically to Saquon Barkley's performance?
Sure, yeah. Um, I've been cheering on Saquon since he got to this team. The
Mm.
Eagles aren't my favorite team or anything, but I'm just rooting for Saquon. So to see him his first 2 carries turn into touchdowns, I'm just fist bumping the air like go Saquon go like you got this man, and just so happy for him to have another dominating game. I mean, you could argue that he's had the best running back season of all time, no matter the outcome of the Super Bowl.
I kind of agree. I think that's kind of a hot take, but I don't disagree with you at all. I think Saquon Barkley is doing incredible things, and he's continued his regular season success into the postseason. First carry of the game takes it, what, 60 something yards to the house. One
Exactly
carry, and
60,
he's
yeah.
gone. And
Yeah.
he's going nuts. He's celebrating with the entire sideline, and I couldn't believe it. I was on the phone with my dad, actually. He's on vacation. He's on a beach somewhere. And I'm just going nuts on the phone. I'm like, oh my God, Saquon Barkley just scored on his first touch, the first time he touches the ball. And yeah, that really set the tone for the whole game. I think one of my big takeaways from the game, so the Commanders beat the Lions in surprising fashion, right? And then you look into the numbers. You don't have to look very hard to see how that happened. They won the turnover battle 5-0. I talked about that last week. This game, they lose to the Eagles. They lose the turnover battle 0-4. So it's like, I don't know. Like I hesitate to call it karma because they didn't deserve that, but it's some
Mm,
sort of cosmic adjustment back to the median, right? I don't know. I think the Eagles are the better team with or without those turnovers. But yeah, you do not give yourself a chance to win when you lose the turnover battle 0-4.
exactly, exactly. And as much praise as we were giving this Commanders defense of the coaching staff and the GM putting this defense together, it just folded on them this game. It just clearly showed that they are like two levels below where they need to be if they actually want to make it to the Super Bowl in the future.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of the praise that we gave their defense and the job that the coaches and GMs have done, I think a lot of that was warranted. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but their defense was put in horrible positions today, and they did not rise to the challenge that is Saquon Barkley.
Right.
He had his way with them, and also they were put in bad positions. Right, De'Ami Brown fumbles, Austin Eckler
Mm-hmm.
fumbles. The special teams turnover that I mentioned, and then Jaden Daniels throws a pick, I think, in the second half. So that's incredibly tough for any defense to overcome. But they had an incredible season. It seemed like they were very grateful for, not just that they're happy to be there, but like they were genuinely grateful for the season that they had and for the future that they know is so bright there. Um, yeah, it's just a incredible season for them and an incredible season for the Eagles, which is still going. And now they're going to try
Right.
and exact revenge on the Kansas City Chiefs, not the Buffalo Bills, like I predicted last week. Let's go ahead and talk about that game. Uh,
Oh boy.
Not the blowout that we saw earlier on Sunday. It was an absolute barn burner. It was back and forth. Looked like the Bills got off to a slow start. Chiefs got off to a lead. The Bills closed that lead. They actually took the lead at the start of the fourth quarter. And then everyone gets all up in arms about, oh, the officiating this, the officiating that. Really, the game was dead even. And it just felt like the Chiefs just had that edge. And Andy, what were your thoughts specifically on that second half as the teams were battling back and forth?
Second half. I mean, that's when both defenses came out to play, and also that's when you're supposed to put on your Superman cape. I kept on screaming at the TV like, "Come on, Josh Allen! Like, put on the cape, get it done! Like, this is your time, this is your moment." And just couldn't. I mean, there was just one Superman was stronger, bigger, better than the other, and unfortunately, that's Patrick Mahomes. Like he is. I don't know if he's a superhero. Maybe he's a supervillain at this point, but gosh, like he is just that inch. Like if Josh Allen is a 10 this year, Patrick Mahomes during the playoffs, he knows how to crank it to 11.
Yeah, yeah. Josh Allen, based on the box score that I saw, and it's tricky to say like what's a rushing attempt and what is a pass play where the quarterback rolls out. It's hard to. I feel like every different outlet like categorizes it differently, but the box score that I'm looking at shows Josh Allen had 11 rushing attempts for 39 yards, which is less than 4 yards a carry. It's pretty bad. And then
Mm,
you look over at
mm-hmm.
Patrick Mahomes. He has 11 carries, same amount of carries, for 42 yards, just a few more yards, and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes was the better running quarterback than Josh Allen that day. So
Crazy.
yeah,
Crazy.
it absolutely is crazy. And I have a lot to say about this game, and I want to start off by just addressing the officiating controversy that's kind of followed the Chiefs for a little bit. Um, the first thing I want to say about Patrick Mahomes, oh, he gets calls that other quarterbacks don't get. Like, that's absolutely true, and we saw that especially in the Texans game is very true. But it's like, okay, so what are you going to do about it? That's been that's been the case in the league for a decade. You know, before Mahomes, it was Tom Brady, it was Aaron Rodgers. Just the upper crust of the quarterbacks of the NFL get calls that other players don't get, and it's on you to beat them. And it's not on you to beat them by a little bit. It's not on you to say, "Oh, well, if that call goes the other way, we win the game." It's like, no, you need to beat them, and you need to leave no doubt. That's how you take down those teams with those quarterbacks. And the Bills absolutely did not do that. Um, I want to talk about the end of the game. The game's tied with 6 minutes to go. Okay, the Bills had a 1 point lead at the start of the fourth quarter with possession of the ball at midfield. So like they were in the game. They were absolutely in the game. Fast forward 6 minutes left in the game. The score's tied and the Chiefs have the ball. The Bills commit a blatant face mask penalty that puts the Chiefs in Bills territory. The defense ultimately holds them to a field goal. So, okay. Josh Allen has the ball, down by 3. The clock reads 3 minutes, 33 seconds. And it's like, okay. I think if you were to ask Bills fans, would you take this scenario at the beginning of the game? I think most of them would probably take it, right?
Oh yeah.
The ball's in your team's hands. It's in Josh Allen's hands. You're down by 3 with all the time in the world, 3:33. I mean, come on. Like the clock's not even a factor there at that point. And Josh Allen runs for a first down, so they get one first down, and then from there it's a Josh Allen drops back to pass. He has all day to throw, and he throws an incomplete pass to absolutely nobody on first down. Second down, Josh Allen's pass. He tries to hit like a dump off pass to Amari Cooper, some sort of shallow crossing thing. It gets batted down at the line of scrimmage. So 3rd and 10, you throw a screen pass to Amari Cooper on 3rd and 10. That's kind of a bold strategy. I question that, first of all, from Joe Brady, who had a bad game. I think he needed to get James Cook way more involved. But a screen pass on 3rd and 10, Amari Cooper gets you half the yards you need. So it's 4th and 5, and then that's the famous play that I think every football fan's seen over and over again. 4th and 5, Spagnuolo, the DC for the Kansas City Chiefs, he draws up a corner blitz. So first of all, he's showing linebacker blitz. All the linebackers are like on the line of scrimmage to confuse the Bills' offensive line. And then as soon as the ball's snapped, one linebacker drops back, and the defensive end that's on the same side as that linebacker also drops back. So what ends up happening is only one guy on the left side of the field is rushing the passer, and on the other side of the field, no one drops back, and you get an extra corner blitzing. And I don't know how, but neither guard for the Buffalo Bills blocks anybody. The one on the left side is a
Yikes.
little more excusable because the guy that he was supposed to block dropped back into coverage. Well, the one on the right
Right.
side, he has all these guys coming at him, and he seems to just freeze out of like indecision, and he doesn't block either of them. Josh Allen is under pressure, and he just heaves up absolute prayer, and it gets answered. It lands in the hands of a diving Dalton Kincaid. And yes, he's diving. Like I don't know if it'll go down in the books as like a drop because he has to dive for it.
Mm,
But like I don't know. I think I was hearing someone else like talk about how Dalton Kincaid, like he's not a blocking tight end, like he's a receiver. Like we all knew this when around draft time. You know, his entire stint with the Bills, like he's not a blocking tight end. Like he's a receiver, and you would hope that he did better with that ball.
right.
But anyways, I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of blame to go around, and the referees I feel like are like fifth or sixth in line if you're trying to dish out blame. And I get you're frustrated that the Chiefs won again, but like Josh Allen needed to be better, Joe Brady needed to be better, Dalton Kincaid, like the offensive line, like oh my God, like the Bills just didn't heed the call in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was a really bad performance from the offensive play calling, and the defense. I feel like the Bills defense did their job, and their special teams did their job, except for just at the last moment, like you said. I think the Chiefs had a really good return when it was tied, and then the very next play is like you mentioned, a face mask. So now they're already within one play. They're already on they're already on past the 50, and I'm just putting my head in my hands, seeing this happening. Like, come on, this is the one time where you need to hold fast, hold steady, and you just collapse. You just let them do what they want. Luckily, you hold them to the field goal, and you're totally right. I mean, I would much rather have my team have the ball with 3 minutes to go, down by 3, MVP caliber quarterback. I would much rather see that if I'm a Bills fan than rely on my defense in that circumstance. So, yeah, it was frustrating, but also like hats off to the Chiefs. They have a crazy good defense. They have probably the best coaching staff in the league. Like, and it all showed that day.
Absolutely, yeah. And I didn't really even speak to the Chiefs' offense, but yeah, it was 100% coaching. Like, I the Chiefs' offense is like a Jenga tower that never falls. It's like you
Right.
can
That's a good
take
one.
out any piece that you want, and it just never falls. It just kind of hangs out. Travis Kelsey, he can get old. You can take out all the wide receivers you want. Doesn't matter. The running back situation. Yeah, Isaiah Pacheco's still hurt. Like that's why they're leaning on Kareem Hunt. But who
Mm-hmm.
makes the play at the end of the game to seal it for them? It's Samaje Perine, who the coach just draws up a beautiful play where everyone goes to the right side of the field and he leaks out to the left and Mahomes
Mm-hmm.
it's like any quarterback could complete that pass. It's literally a dump off to the running back. And the running back is like a 30-year-old, like never been a starter. Like he's just it's nothing special, you guys, but like the coaching and the play and the situation and just understanding what the defense is going to do in that spot, like those are things that can't be quantified on a box score, can't be quantified um, in any sort of fantasy football output. Talking heads, us included, like it's so hard to see coming and it's hard to describe after the fact. It's just coaching. And Samaje
Right.
P. Ryan runs for 17 yards when he needs what 8 or 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Ridiculous.
yeah, you can't get him off the field, and then the clock runs out, and that's all.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And now we
Yeah. That's
get
what's great.
another Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl.
2 years later, right? Like, how crazy is that? That it's just. I saw on the Pat McAfee they showed the last 10 years of the Super Bowl or whatever, and just to see Kansas City, this weird break of Cincinnati and LA Rams, and the only reason Kansas City wasn't in that is because Joe Burrow beat Patrick Mahomes, and then
Sure
it's
did.
just Kansas City the rest of the way up. I'm like, oh my god, like how no wonder we're so fed up. Like, this proves why people are so fed up with watching the Chiefs dominate and seeing them in this spot, is because if it wasn't for Joe Burrow, they would have been in the Super Bowl I think it's like the last 7 years in a row or 6 years in a row, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, no. I've said it before, but like there are legitimate reasons to hate other dynasties in football and other sports. Like the Patriots had the whole cheating scandals, multiple cheating
Mm,
scandals. The Miami Heat, you had just a bunch of veterans trying to ring chase, and that was a
mm-hmm.
whole debacle. But with the Chiefs, it's like there's no reason to hate the Chiefs except for the fact that they keep taking every other team's spot in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's just annoying at this point. It's like let someone else have a turn, but of course they're not going to do that.
No,
And another team needs
no.
to step up and take it, and we just haven't seen that play out.
Right.
But I'm actually not as upset about this matchup as a lot of other people are. I feel like a lot of people, I'm obviously sarcasm at the top of the show. I know these are like everyone's two least favorite fan bases, and no one's happy for them, and no one's happy to see the Super Bowl. But I honestly, rewind 2 years ago, that was an incredible Super Bowl. Eagles Chiefs? Are you kidding me? That was so
Right.
high scoring on both sides. Jalen Hurts had one of the best performances we've ever seen in a Super Bowl by a quarterback, and Mahomes was right there with him. Like it was an incredible game, and yeah, the Chiefs did win. But I'm excited to see what's going to happen in round two, especially now that the Eagles have completely. Um, it's a totally different offense, and Saquon
Mm-hmm.
looked unstoppable. So I want to see what happens. And I am hopefully with as we lead up to the Super Bowl, everyone else will kind of come around to it because I just the Chiefs just don't know how to lose, but also Saquon Barkley doesn't know how to get tackled. So I just want to see what happens when those two forces collide.
Right. Right. Fun little fact here. The last time the Super Bowl was in New Orleans, it was the Baltimore San Francisco Super Bowl with Joe Flacco and Colin Kaepernick, and that was that weird like all the lights turned off. Remember that? And like all the conspiracies come out, and all the like, oh, what's going on? That was Ray Lewis's last game. Like that was just that was a fun game to watch too. So I'm hoping it follows the same type of hype.
I do too, man. That Super Bowl was so formative for me because I was I was a child, not a young child, I don't know, 14, 15, something like that. And
Yeah.
I love the Ravens. That was kind of my AFC team. That's like my pet team. And I just connect with Ray Lewis, and I was a fan of Flacco at the time, and they had an incredible run up to that Super Bowl. And then on the other side, of course, that was the absolute height of the Seahawks 49ers rivalry. And it was
Right.
just such an easy team to hate with Jim Harbaugh and Colin Kaepernick. And it was just like, oh, I hate that team so much. And they're going up against one of my favorite teams. And yeah, the Ravens freaking blew them out. And then the 49ers had to go and like pull some plug to shut down the game.
And they still lost.
They came back, but yeah, they still lost,
Yeah.
fortunately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna have
Anyway.
yeah a lot more Super Bowl talk to come next week as we preview that game. But right now, while we have some time, what do you say we dive into all the NFL head coaching changes that has taken place over the last few weeks? Andy, I'm going to tee you up in just a sec, but to review, we had 7 teams fire their head coach. Those teams are in no particular order. Actually, it's in alphabetical order. We have the Chicago Bears, Dallas Cowboys, Jacksonville Jaguars, Las Vegas Raiders, New England Patriots, New York Jets, and the New Orleans Saints. Lots of new faces in new places, places that start with the word new. New England, New York, New Orleans. The latter, New Orleans, they still haven't hired a new head coach. They're headless right now. They are there's rumor is that they want to interview Kellen Moore, and they want to ask him
Mm,
to be their new head coach. He's the current offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I imagine after the Super Bowl, that could become a reality, win or lose. I think that's
right.
probably the most likely scenario right now. But we're going
Well,
to
if
omit
that's the
them for this exercise.
yeah, that'd be fun. I would love to see Kellen Moore in that spot. I didn't realize that he was that's I didn't realize that's where the news was going with that team. I've kind of lost track of where
Yeah,
they're
it's
going.
it's it's kind of a rumor at this point, but
Sure,
yeah, that would
sure.
just make so much sense for everyone involved. Like if you're Kellen Moore,
Right,
you take that gig, regardless of how much of a bummer scenario it kind of looks like, right? Saints
right,
don't have a quarterback that gives you a lot of confidence. They have a terrible cap situation with their roster. It's a old roster, and the owner is kind of difficult. But
right, right.
there's only 32 of these jobs, right? So
True, true.
and yeah, Kellen Moore's a really bright offensive mind. So for the other six teams, Andy, you take a look at all six of these teams and the coaches that they hired, and you ranked them from best to worst.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dissect them one by one, starting with the hire that you deem to be the worst hire of this
Right.
cycle.
Not including the Saints. We're leaving that one open, as you mentioned. Yeah, I'm going with Brian Shoddy for the Dallas Cowboys. I think this was a super safe pick, as much as Jerry Jones will say otherwise. I think this was kind of late to the party. They took forever to fire Mike McCarthy, and I thought that was a dumb choice. And then they're just kind of twiddling their thumbs or dipping their feet in the pool, not really sure where they want to go. All the good candidates are already have a good idea or decided where they're going to go. So they're just like, let's go with this guy. And then, gosh, Jerry Jones during that press conference is like he's just feeding the internet trolls like, you don't know how much courage this takes, you don't know how uncomfortable this makes me hiring a coach that has no head coaching experience, and he's sitting right next to him. I couldn't believe the words that came out of Jerry Jones's mouth as his new head coach is sitting right next to him, taking like a verbal beating
Yeah,
to the
he's basically
press.
throwing him under the bus while announcing him as the new head coach.
Oh, and don't worry, this isn't about Jerry Jones. Like, he had to clarify that, which means it is about you. If you have to clarify it, that means it is about you.
Yeah, Jerry Jones spends so much time talking about how he doesn't give any time to the internet haters.
Exactly. And that's all he does.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's funny. So Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, seems like he kind of dragged his feet a little bit as to what to do. Do we bring him back? Do we not bring him back? And while he was dragging his feet, all like you said, all the best candidates chose different teams. It's not like being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys is undesirable. Like it's a great destination. You have Dak Prescott. You have a great offense. Like I think a lot of coaches would jump at the chance to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, right? But
Right.
he dragged his feet, and there wasn't a lot of great options out there. So they hire from within, which typically I don't really mind. Like it's safe, like you said, contrary to what Jerry Jones would have you believe. It's a nice,
Right.
safe option, and from what I hear, Brian Schottenheimer has a great rapport with Dak Prescott. So besides the Jerry Jones of it all, was there a reason why you felt like this was the worst hire of the cycle?
I think flashy name has a little bit to do with it. I think there's a reason why he's bounced from team to team. I know he has great history from his father, and like you said, he has history with Dak and hiring within. I just I just looked at this as like a placeholder hire. I didn't look at this as like this is our long-term solution, like a Mike McCarthy. Like Mike McCarthy could have been your coach for the next 3 to 4, maybe even 5 years if you wanted to, and he would have done a great. I feel like he would have done a great job getting you to the playoffs, maybe winning the division from year to every year, every other year. I just don't see Brian Shoddy being that type of coach, basically, and I think they're just kind of waiting till another big name comes around to then just fire Brian and get the new guy, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Brian Schottenheimer, like that name does not is it's the opposite of flashy. It has zero
Hmm.
sex appeal. Like it's it's just very boring, very vanilla. I know as Seahawks fans, we have some experience with Brian Schottenheimer. He was our offensive coordinator for a little bit, and I don't know. The Seahawks they go through offensive coordinators like crazy. So
Right.
it's so easy to blame the offensive coordinator when your team underperforms. But I remember him being particularly boring, and he doesn't take risks, and he's very conservative. And
Right.
so,
Right.
but I kind of picked up on something you were talking about Mike McCarthy. Do you think he should have been let go? Do you think he deserved to be let go?
No. No. I think
Interesting.
he deserved another 3-year contract. I think he proved that he can win with this team. Yes, he lost Dan Quinn and that definitely mattered on the defensive side, especially
Sure
because
did.
Dan Quinn took a lot of the Dallas Cowboys starters and brought them to Washington.
Yeah, they're coaches and players.
So right. So that was definitely a decline on the defensive side, but the offense was still clicking. The offense, like Mike McCarthy is a good play caller. I didn't think the offense was the issue. I thought the general management was the issue, and so unfortunately, Mike McCarthy got stuck with all the blame.
Yeah, yeah. So I didn't realize this, and maybe this is just me being silly, but I didn't realize until this week that Mike McCarthy has been the play caller for the Dallas Cowboys for the last couple years, not their
Right.
offensive coordinator. It's been Mike McCarthy. He's been calling plays, and that offense, when Dak is healthy, has been one of the best in the league. So
Right.
it's really hard to blame a guy. I mean, I know Jerry Jones has higher expectations, as do the fans, than like what this team has accomplished in the playoffs. I think sometimes maybe you just gotta shake the snow globe and just like hope that you get some sort of better outcome. But yeah, hiring from within, that's not much of a shakeup. So yeah, I don't
No.
really get this at all. I agree with where you have it ranked, and I don't know. I feel like that's probably enough Cowboys talk. I think ESPN
Sure.
does a great
Sure.
job of covering that team.
ESPN and many others. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So anyways, but Mike McCarthy's been calling plays. Uh, Brian Schottenheimer, the offensive coordinator, now the head coach. He said he's going to be taking on the play calling duties. So we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see. Next lowest candidate, I guess. I don't know how to phrase that, but
Yeah, number
the next
five.
one I have, number 5. Thank you. Yep. I'm going Liam Cohen with going with Jacksonville new head coach. Um, I really liked his story of the come up. I liked how he was on the Rams with Sean McVay, and then he gets Baker for like a game, and they win that crazy game against the Raiders or something like that. When Baker like flew in Monday, plays Thursday or whatever it was, it was really cool. And then Baker goes to Tampa. He loses Dave Canales. He chooses the offensive coordinator, which is Liam Cohen, to bring to Tampa Bay. Like I thought the storyline was great, and then he gets the Jacksonville job, and I just kind of fall flat about it. I honestly don't have the strongest opinion about this guy and this team, but I don't know. I didn't nothing again, it didn't really grab me. The hire didn't really say, okay, yes, this is what's going to fix Trevor Lawrence, because I liked Doug Peterson. Now, did I think Doug Peterson needed to move on from that. They needed to move on from him, sure, because it obviously wasn't working with Trevor Lawrence. This is kind of like, in my opinion, this is kind of more a testament to Trevor Lawrence. Like, here, we're bringing in this offensive guru. We thought we brought in a quarterback guru with Doug Peterson. Now we're bringing in an overall offensive guru. If you can't get it, if you can't work with this guy, there's a clear indication that Trevor Lawrence should not be a starting quarterback if that's the case.
Well, that's going to be hard because they just gave Trevor Lawrence a massive contract. So.
And I don't know what was up with that. That made no sense. That's a whole different discussion.
Right,
but,
right. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We're not NFL GMs. We don't claim to know why the Jaguars are constantly underperforming. But I'm kind of with you on this Liam Cohen situation. Hopefully I can give like the Spark Notes version for anyone listening who hasn't like followed it. So the Jags interviewed Liam Cohen, who is the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They interviewed him for the head coaching job, and he said something along the lines of, I just don't know if this is the right situation because the general manager is such a tool. And so then the Jags ownership, they go, well, that's, man, you make a good point. That's kind of what everyone else said too. So while Liam Cohen's talking to the Bucs about an extension to remain their offensive coordinator, the Jags fire their general manager in an attempt to win him back. And it works. He totally spurns the Tampa Bay Buccaneers while they're in like contract negotiations, and then he goes and flies out to Jacksonville, takes the job now that their general manager is out of there. And I don't know, man. The scenario, the circumstances that surround it, and then everything that has gone on since then, the press conference, the media, it's all been a disaster. He looks like a total goon. And I don't know what it is about, like, you have a good season with Baker Mayfield, and the rest of the NFL thinks that you're like the second coming. Like Dave Canales got a head coaching job because, you had a good season with Baker Mayfield. You can fix our franchise. Now the same thing's happening with Liam Cohen. It's like maybe Baker's just good. Like I don't. He's had a different offensive coordinator for his first 8 years in the league. He'll have a different offensive coordinator. All these guys keep getting either fired or hired as a head coach of another team. It's like maybe we can just give credit to the kid and not.
Yes.
I don't know. So yeah,
and that's what worries me is exactly what you just said. Is like, is this the Baker effect, or is this guy actually really good at his job and gonna be able to completely rework an entire offense, an entire team? Now he's not just control of the offense. He's in control of the offense, defense, special teams. Like he's has it all in front of him, and it's a big pill to swallow. It's a big change, and there's a couple guys on this list. There's three that have never been a head coach before. Four, sorry, excuse me. And so, it's a big change going from, I mentioned it last week, how Dan Quinn in Atlanta, he took on so much. He's spoken about it publicly. And this time around, like, I feel like he's really been able to delegate. Not everybody's going to know how to do that right off the bat. Many aren't. So, like I said, it just didn't grab me. I didn't really care about the whole drama of how he got the job. It was messy, but it's more just like, it's more of a testament to Trevor Lawrence. That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going with my fourth pick. I'm going to go with Aaron Glenn to the New York Jets. Now, this mostly has to do with the Jets being the Jets, right? Like, I don't really know if they put anybody in that spot that they could fix this organization, because the owner doesn't know what they're doing. I know they're going to come up with a new GM, or they already have. They don't know what to do at quarterback. They just have this. They just collected a bunch of Aaron Rodgers' old friends, and now they're just like shrug emoji. this kind of reminds me of the Houston Texans when they brought in D'Amico Ryans. Like, Houston was in such a bad spot, and then they bring in a guy that they drafted and played for this team. And D'Amico Ryans completely changed the Houston Texans around. Now, they also got a stellar quarterback to help him with this move, but I'm not as hopeful for Aaron Glenn and the Jets. He actually got drafted by the Jets in the first round by Pete Carroll, and now him and Pete Carroll are both head coaches, which I think is just hilarious. I'm wishing all the best for Aaron Glenn, but the Jets are the Jets, and I'm going to say that until they don't jet it up anymore.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you. I think Aaron Glenn, he's widely respected around the entire league, and he's great at what he does. I think the Lions' defense has been very good the last few years, overperformed despite like a lot of injuries and things like that. He just has a stellar reputation. He seems like a kind of guy that you would want to hire as a head coach, especially if he has history with your organization and he has ties. But it just really feels like Robert Saleh all over again. It's like you draft the defense, you bring in the defensive coordinator of the best team in the other conference to be your head coach, and it's like, we just did this. And like, your defense was good and your offense wasn't. And that's kind of what happens when you have a defensive-minded head coach. I don't know. It just feels like we're doing the same thing over again. And maybe Aaron Glenn will prove us wrong, but probably not because it's the Jets.
I totally agree. I'm so glad you said that because I feel like exactly Robert Saleh 2.0, and that's what's crazy. The defense was good, and they still fire the head coach. So I'm not saying defensive-minded head coaches shouldn't get head coaching spots. I'm just saying there's a time and place for it all, and obviously the defense is not your issue. So why are you continually to go back to the pool that isn't giving you results? You said it best, though.
No, yeah, there's so many parallels between him and Robert Saleh.
Right.
And
right.
I don't know. I think a lot of Jets fans had kind of gotten tired of Robert Saleh, and in terms of not really his X's and O's, but more his leadership and the fact that he kind of let Aaron Rodgers kind of take over the entire building. And now it'll be interesting to see what Aaron Glenn does with Aaron Rodgers. It seemed like the ownership made some statements about how like they're never bringing back Aaron Rodgers. And now more recent statements made by Aaron Glenn and by Rodgers. It kind of seems like the door's totally open for them to come back. And, if Rodgers wants to keep playing, I don't know where else he'd want to go. Like, there's not a whole lot of openings around the league. What, maybe the Raiders, the Giants? Like, you don't want to play for those teams. So, like, I could see him wanting to come back. And if you're the Jets, your draft pick isn't that high. So it's like, if it's not Aaron Rodgers, you're not bringing Sam Darnold back. No. It could just be this awkward, like, I don't know. Maybe you have some friends in your life, a couple, and then they break up, and then you're like, oh man, yeah, I always knew she was horrible for you. And then you find out, you say all this like crap about her, and then you find out 2 weeks later they're back together. And it's like,
yeah.
This is awkward. Like I could see that happening with the Jets and with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know what Aaron Glenn's plans are at the quarterback position, but he's not really set up for success. And especially just with the defense already being good and him being a defensive mind, I don't really see it.
I do like Aaron Glenn as a coach more than I do all the previous names I've already mentioned, though. So that's why he gets that little bit of the edge, even though he's going to the Jets. I'm going to move on to my third best. Speaking of Pete Carroll, I'm going to pick Pete Carroll as the third best here, going to the Raiders. I know we talked about it at length in the previous episode.
We did.
But just want to give him his flowers. He's in a great spot. What a culture setter him and Tom Brady. I mean, besides Bill Belichick, you really couldn't ask for a better combo there. So I'm excited to see what those two bring and the culture that Pete Carroll can set up for this team.
Yeah, yeah. If you want our takes on the Pete Carroll hiring, go ahead and listen to last week's episode. But yeah, just a great hire. He's a great coach, and he's only won everywhere he's gone, except for the Jets that one time.
Right.
It's probably
Right.
Aaron Glenn's fault, honestly. No, just kidding. Uh, no, it's just a great sign of patience from an organization that seems to not have any. So that's great. They're going to take the slow approach. They're going to build it from the ground up. They're going to reset the culture, and yeah, we'll see what they do at the quarterback position. But yeah, no, I love the Pete Carroll hire.
Yep. Yep, I agree. So now the next two coaches, they do have their quarterback situation set up. I think the second best hire is Ben Johnson with the Chicago Bears. Ben Johnson was definitely the hottest name last year. I know as a Seahawks fan, I was really hoping that we would get Ben Johnson last year. He was interviewed between Washington. It was kind of between the Seahawks and Washington or staying where he's at. And ultimately, he decided to stay with Detroit. And I'm sure he's glad he did because not only did Detroit have a fantastic year, but in a regular season, but now he gets to coach Caleb Williams with the Chicago Bears and that amazing stacked offense. I think, again, he's never had head coaching experience, so it's hard to say, but I think he's the right guy for the job. I'm excited to see what he can do to this team and what kind of plays he can write up. And to stay in the same division as the Detroit Lions, like that's just going to be such a great storyline moving forward.
Yeah, that's tough, right? Because like the Lions had to have seen that coming, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you going to do? You know, you got to let him go. He's the longest tenured offensive coordinator in the league, so you can't say he like bailed on you guys. It's like
Right.
no, he stayed for a long time and he wrote it out, and you guys had a chance to do something special this year, and for whatever reason that didn't work out, and now he's on the Bears, and that sucks for the Lions. You know who it doesn't suck for is Caleb Williams. I think he's the biggest winner in all this. He
Oh,
gets a
yeah.
great offensive-minded coach who's going to be drawing up trick plays, you know, on his off time, and I totally love this for him. I think I was a little surprised. I feel like, you know, if I had I get that Caleb Williams is his presence alone sets you up for success better than some of these other jobs. Uh, but man, still, like I kind of view the Bears as one of those dysfunctional organizations like the Jets that you just kind of want to avoid if you can. But we'll see. We'll see. They have a good defense. They have a young quarterback on a rookie contract, and I think it's gonna work out. I don't know what that's gonna look like. You know, maybe it's you make the playoffs and that's enough. You know, I don't know that it's gonna be much more than that at the beginning at least, but
Sure.
I think the Bears would be thrilled to make the playoffs.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
yeah, for
like
sure.
it's
Yeah.
an upgrade over anything that they've had. Has to be the most optimism Bears fans have had in forever. So
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
it is a win-win in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, and something about these historic franchises, Green Bay, the Bears, the Raiders, the
Mm,
Giants, like there's just like that little extra factor in it when you get that opportunity to coach these really historic, well-known franchises. And I'm sure that adds to the decision making behind all of it, no matter how dysfunctional it is. So yeah, and if you've listened to this far, give us a comment. Let us know. Like, tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where I'm right. Tell me if you disagree. Whatever. But my number one pick is Mike Vrabel to the New England Patriots. It's a guy that knows this franchise. It's a guy that's played for this franchise. I was so shocked that Tennessee let go of Mike Vrabel last year, and that he didn't get another gig. Like, this guy there was obviously a disagreement between him and the Titans GM at the time, but man, this guy knows how to coach a team. The Titans were such a good team, and it started at the top, and I just was such a shock to me personally to not see him be a head coach in the NFL last year. So I'm giving props to New England on this one, and they deserve. I think that Mike Vrabel was the best hire.
It's a slam dunk. Yeah, I think in terms of value add to a team, I think you could make a strong argument for what the Bears got. But man, like in terms of fit, like yeah, it doesn't get better than Mike Vrabel coaching the Patriots. Like that is a perfect fit. And yeah, you're right.
Right.
Like it wasn't based on merit that he was let go. He just had a disagreement with the GM and with the ownership in Tennessee. And props to him for getting out of that total circus. Like
Right. Right.
the Patriots, they're not setting the world on fire, but I think he's just stepping into an amazing situation there. Not only do you have Drake May, but like the franchise is a well-run franchise, and he's going to be given all the power that he wants, that he needs to take this thing in the right direction. He has the uh, unquestioned faith and belief of the ownership there. Like he's like the golden child that's coming back,
Hmm.
who is taking over the reins. And what I love most about this for Mike Vrabel is, I forget who said this. It might have been Bill Parcells, but like you never want to be the guy who replaces the guy.
Right.
You want to be the guy who replaces the guy who replaces the guy. And that's Mike Vrabel. Okay? So
Yep.
he's not replacing Bill Belichick. Right? He's replacing the guy who replaced Bill Belichick. So he's
Yep.
totally set up to succeed, and the fan base is going to have a lot of patience as far as fan bases go. So yeah, no, this
I
no
don't care.
arguments.
The
No arguments.
Seahawks
I
hire Klint Kubiak as their new offensive coordinator.
Yeah, Klint Kubiak. He's 37 years old, oldest son of Gary Kubiak, famous NFL Super Bowl winning head coach and longtime assistant head coach in the league. He's bounced around to a number of different places, and all of his sons are in the league, as we'll come to know. Klint Kubiak. I did a massive deep dive on him, and I can't wait to share that with you all. But I want to get Andy's take on this first before I influence it. Andy, what did you think about this? He was the offensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints last year, and now he's our offensive coordinator.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you guys all remember the Saints' first two games, I think they scored a total of 90 points. One of those games scoring 45 plus against the formidable Dallas Cowboys defense. So, and then everybody got hurt on the Saints. All the starters got hurt, and the Saints were never the same. So, it's hard to judge him off of that one year. But looking towards the positives, we know that he can get the star-studded players, the best players of the ball, and get them to score. So that part is exciting. I don't have the biggest take on Klint Kubiak. I'm excited to hear what you have to say, but I was upset that we didn't bring Ryan Grubb back. So, in my opinion, he has some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, yeah, I am with you on Ryan Grubb. I think he deserved another year to learn from his mistakes and to improve as an offensive coordinator at the NFL level. I kind of feel like we're in the minority somehow. Maybe Reddit isn't representative of the Seahawks fan base, but I just think that the offensive coordinator gets scapegoated way too often, and they rarely deserve to get canned when they get canned. And definitely his first year in the league, Ryan Grubb didn't
Right.
deserve to get canned.
Right.
So I want to talk about Klint Kubiak and his sort of path to the NFL. So in 2019, he got hired by the Vikings as a quarterback coach. On the same day that his father was hired by the Vikings to be their assistant head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like his father made it a condition of him joining the team that, like, well, I have to bring my son with me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's called nepotism, and it happens all the time in the NFL. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
all the time, and half the time it works. See Kyle Shanahan of the 49ers, for example. Sometimes it works. Okay, so I'm not saying he's an idiot. I'm just saying his dad got him a job at the Vikings as a quarterbacks coach, and then Klint Kubiak was promoted to the Vikings offensive coordinator in 2021, replacing his father, who was the offensive coordinator, but then retired. So when he retired, he had his son take his place, and that lasted one season. Then the Vikings said no more. And then he was hired by the Denver Broncos as a quarterback coach and I think like passing game coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and this was Russell Wilson's first season with the Denver Broncos. And we all know how well that went, right? It
Right.
was an absolute disaster. And their offensive coordinator at the time, Nate Hackett, now famous for being terrible at his job, he was the play caller through the first, I don't know, 10 games. And eventually he was forced to give up play calling duties, and Klint Kubiak took over. So that offense with Russell Wilson, first year as a Denver Bronco, the offense was averaging about 14 and a half points per game. Miserable, right? When he took over, from then on, when Klint Kubiak was calling plays, their offense jumped to 19 and a half points per game. So that's like a 5 point increase. And, halfway through the year, you're not implementing a new playbook, right? You're
Right.
just you're
Right.
just pretty much calling more or less the same plays, just in a better sequence that makes more sense. So to increase your output by 5 points a game, that's noteworthy. It's still bad, but it's noteworthy that
Right.
he was able to come in, take over play calling, and we saw an immediate bump. Um, After that, he took a year with the 49ers to be their passing game coordinator. We all know Kyle Shanahan, the head coach. He's their offensive coordinator. He calls the plays. But Klint Kubiak was there to coordinate the passing game, whatever that means. And they had a great year. Side note, Klint Kubiak's brother was already working with the 49ers as the quarterback coach. So call it connections, call it networking, call it nepotism, whatever you want. He
Mm.
already had a brother who was on that offensive coaching staff. Then, after he spent a year with the 49ers, he was hired to be the actual offensive coordinator by the Saints for the 24-24 season. Their offense averaged 20 points a game. But you pointed out that, yeah, there was a ton of injuries. Derek Carr was hurt. When Derek Carr was active and healthy, you just isolate those 10 games that Derek Carr was the starter, they averaged like 24, 25 points a game, which is
Wow.
decent. Like
Yeah.
that's about
That's
like 10th in the league.
yeah. I'd say that's good.
Yeah, yeah, and that's definitely being kept afloat by those first two games you mentioned. But I'm not going to take that away
Right.
from him. Like, that was incredible. You had all off
Yeah.
season to prepare, and you absolutely blew the doors off your first two opponents. So that's great to see. But yeah, not only did Derek Carr get hurt, Chris Olave stopped playing near the end of the year. Um, it's just a mess. It was honestly a mess. So I don't blame him for that. I think the Saints are just in a rough spot with their roster and how old they are and how tight of a bind they're in with the cap situation. Um, so I don't know. I say all that to say I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with Klint Kubiak. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm optimistic. He's called plays before. That was something that differentiated him from all the other candidates that were being tossed around as the potential Seahawks OC. It was like all these guys, all these clipboard holders who like never actually called plays before. And when
Mm.
you have a defensive-minded head coach, you want some sort of stability on the other side of the ball. So I'm not trying to be a hater. I am pointing out that he's his path has been a rocky one. He by no means is he like a rock star offensive coordinator. But yeah, I trust in Coach McDonald, and if this was his pick, I'm sure he had a big say in it at least. And so I am all for just trusting Coach McDonald and just farthering his vision for the team and just seeing where we can go with that.
Sure. I think some stories have kind of come out now because the Seahawks were kind of late to hire their head coach. They were kind of scrambling to find an offensive coordinator and it's just an overall staff for Mike McDonald. And I think Ryan Grubb was kind of like a late, even more late of a hire. And he had already committed to go to Alabama, right? And then he gets this gig. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, it's the NFL. Like, of course I'm going to take that. So I feel like this time around, this was Mike McDonald's actual search in finding who he wanted and who meshed with his plans and his vision for the Seahawks moving forward. Like you said, you got to trust their decisions. We've also trusted Pete Carroll's offensive coordinator's choices in the past, and like the last handful of years, that didn't really work out. So it's hard to say where this is going to go. Like you say, he's not an absolute rock star, but I do appreciate the fact that he has called plays before. He did average a high amount of points. He knows how to get the offense into the end zone, not only to get the offense flowing, but offense into scoring positions, and that I can appreciate.
Yeah. I think the offense that he runs is a pretty common one. It's not exactly out of the box, but I think we have a great group of skill players, and I think it's a good job. Like
Right.
I think he's got a good home field advantage. I think he has a competent quarterback, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Definitely better than he was set up in New Orleans, better than he was set up in Denver. Like, this is the best skill group that he's had to deal with. It's just the offensive line that we got to figure out. So I'm not going to say he's a bum. I'm not going to, make any sweeping judgments right now. But, yeah, if it goes south, I will definitely be calling him a Nepo baby. And I will have no problem making him the bad guy, because
Fair enough.
this is it's an unimpressive resume, and I think he has every opportunity now to succeed. So I don't know. We'll
Yep.
see. Yeah, so if
see.
the Seahawks offense doesn't improve, then you're going to hear Andy and I talking about how we want Ryan Grubb back and how Klint
Yes.
Kubiak was never the answer.
Right. Good luck, Ryan Grubb, wherever you go, whatever you do.
Well, I think that'll do it for this week. I think next week, it's all about the Super Bowl, baby. We're going to preview the Super Bowl. We got game picks coming at you. We got picks against the spread, some player props, X factors for the game. Like, it's going to be 100% focused on one game. We're going to give you everything that you need. And if you have any questions, any specific takes that you want to hear, drop it in the comments. Reach out to us. And, yeah, we're totally looking forward to it. It's going to be a great one.
Yeah, looking forward to it, buddy.
All right. See ya.
Peace.
Thanks a ton for making it to the end of the episode. You're a real one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That's a free, easy way to support the show, and it really helps us out. And leave us your comments down below if you're on YouTube, or send in your questions at thefantasyflowpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time.